Hello guys, it is Teenage Marvel Fan back with another video, and in today's video I will be reviewing Avengers Endgame. So I saw this movie last weekend, and that's late for a lot of people. But I know that there probably are still a lot of people, well, probably not a lot, but at least a few people that haven't seen this movie yet. So be warned, this video contains major spoilers. I'm basically going to spoil the whole movie in this video. So if you haven't seen the movie, leave this video and come back to it after you've seen the movie. But yeah, so you have been warned. So this movie was just amazing. I didn't think that it would be as comedic as it was. Because like after what had just happened, I didn't think there would be that many jokes and stuff. And I didn't think that this would be as funny. I thought it would be a lot sadder. And yeah, there were some sad parts, but there were a lot of comedic aspects to it too. And I like that because that's what makes Marvel movies so great, because they have the balance between seriousness and the funny side of things. Because then it's like you can please both sides of fans at the same time, because there's fans that just want funny stuff. There's fans that just want serious stuff. Well, you get both in this, and that's really great. So, yeah. So this movie's doing really great at the box office. It's already the second highest grossing movie of all time, and it's almost at number one. I guarantee that it's going to reach number one because, well, Avengers Endgame has only been out for like 12 or 13 days, and it's already over halfway there to beating Avatar. And Avatar, it took like months to get where it is. So this is definitely going to make it. I don't think that the box office numbers are going to lower at all when it comes to this movie, because people just keep going back to see it. One of my friends from school saw it twice. I've heard about people that have seen it like 7 times, and that's crazy, but it's good when it comes to box office numbers. I can't do that because I don't have time to do that or the money to do that. But so let's get into the breakdown or review. So I'll start off by talking about cameos. So I really like the way that they did the cameos in this movie with the whole time travel thing. So with the whole time travel thing, it I I knew that was happening in this movie before I saw it, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I thought it would just be like when they went to 2012 during the original Avengers movie. I thought that they were just going to, um, you know, like go to the final battle and stuff, and like show us stuff that we saw in that movie. And I thought they would do that with like all the other time travel places in time. Um, but what I like about it is that that's not what they did. They actually like developed more story and showed us like what happened off screen. Like in the Avengers movie, apparently after they defeated Loki, uh, Crossbones, or Brock Rumlow, and Jasper Sitwell, who we later found out were working for Hydra, and Brock Rumlow became Crossbones. They took the scepter back to S.H.I.E.L.D., but they were working for Hydra, so that was a nice touch to see. And then you also saw that the Ancient One was there fighting the Chitauri during the battle for New York. We never knew that. And then it was cool when we saw Loki escape, but obviously that doesn't happen, which I'll get into a little more later when I explain like the ending. So yeah, then the Thor: The Dark World, they actually made it kind of a more enjoyable movie, even though that movie sucked. Um, Well, it didn't really suck. It's just not as good as the other ones. I actually just rewatched that a couple weeks ago because I rewatched all 20 Marvel movies before seeing Endgame. Um, and it's actually not as bad as I remember. And that was before watching Endgame, but now the next time I watch it, I'm gonna like it even more because like so Thor had the conversation with his mother, and like she was never really in the movies that much, and then she died. And honestly, she probably said more in this one scene that she was in this movie than she said in the other two movies that she was in. Like she barely said anything in those movies, and she died in one of those movies. So yeah, it was nice to see Thor have like you. Actually, I'll get into that more when I talk about Thor. Um, then of course when they went back to the 70s, there was Peggy, there was Howard Stark, um, it was Edwin Jarvis. That was nice to see. Let's see, the Gamora, even though that wasn't really a cameo, but like from 2012 or whatever. Uh, Star Lord, because he was on Morag getting the Power Stone. It would have been nice if they showed Ronan because Thanos did mention him, but it would have been nice if they actually showed him. Um, then it was nice to see the Red Skull back. Don't know what they're doing with him in the future, or if we'll see him in the future at all. Um, so yeah. Uh, Another thing I'd like to mention is the Stan Lee cameo. I think that was a nice one. Obviously, since this was his last one, I wish that it would have been something like maybe a little better, but they didn't know that he was going to pass away, so they didn't make anything different than it usually would be. Um, but it was still nice, and I like the fact that in the car that he was riding, the one of the stickers on the back of it, I think it said "Nuff said," and that was something that he said often. Um, like on the Superhero Squad show, that was a good show. He was the mayor, and he said that. Uh, but now I should probably start talking about the characters of the movie. Uh, Going from like best to worst. Well, not really in any particular order, but like kind of like the least amount of screen time to the most, I guess. Uh, well, not really. I'll just start off with Thanos, the original Thanos that was in Infinity War. Um, so I didn't like what they did with him. Like I understood that they wanted to kill him off and that they wanted to. I don't know. I just wish that they didn't kill him off like so easily. Like they've been building him up for 10 years, and he was the main villain of the last movie. And even though he is the main villain of this movie, it's a different version of Thanos. So then it's like that Thanos never experienced like the last 5 or 6 years. So it's just different, and I don't like that they did that. Although the story was pretty good with how they did it, I just wish that they didn't do it that way. And it was pretty crazy seeing him get decapitated by Thor. I mean, this is a Disney movie, and a guy got decapitated. You That's not something you see very often. Um, but yeah, and it was really weird seeing him wear like a normal shirt. Like I know that sounds like something weird to say, but it just reminded me of like those memes of Thanos. Like that one where it was about Ant-Man going up Thanos's butt and then expanding, and it was like Thanos wearing a shirt and nothing else, and he was just weird. But that's just what it reminded me of, and it kind of got weird. But moving on to Captain Marvel, She wasn't in this movie very much. I'm glad that they did that with her because she would have been really overpowered and she probably would have finished the movie in like under 10 minutes because she could have just killed Thanos on her own. Um, I don't like that she got the shorter hair. I get that that's something that happened in the comics. I just don't like the way it looks in the movie. Um, yeah. So, but not really too much to say about her. Ant-Man, I thought that he would have a bigger part in this movie, but it was actually quite a small part that he had. But that's all right because he, they were mainly focusing on the original 6 Avengers. Um, and Ant-Man wasn't one, but he still had a good part of the movie. That he was featured in. Like, I liked when he turned into Giant Man in the final battle, and when he came up with the idea of using the quantum realm to time travel. I didn't think he would be smart enough to figure that out, but it was cool that he did figure it out. Then War Machine, I like what they did in this movie with him, except his armor in the final battle. So we had seen what it was going to look like in the final battle, and it looked pretty cool. And I just released a video of the Marvel Legends figure of that. And we all thought that it was going to be in his War Machine colors. But in the movie, it was in his Iron Patriot colors. And I have no idea why they did that. I just didn't like that. Um, Barely anybody liked Iron Patriot when he was in Iron Man 3. So why would they think people would like him when he's bulked up like this? Um, he would have been a lot cooler if he had his normal colors, but he had the Iron Patriot colors. But other than that, I liked his relationship with Nebula, his relationship with Captain Marvel. That was pretty good. And moving on to Clint Barton, um, I predicted that that first scene was going to be his family getting dusted. I thought that they would have like developed it more though, like had more of a scene than just like he turns around and they're gone. I thought he would have like watched them turn to dust, or like would have had his daughter in his arms as she faded away. Like that would have been made it a little better. But overall, it was a pretty good scene, and they really hyped him up as Ronin, but he was only Ronin in one scene. Um, so that was kind of disappointing. He was cool as Ronin, but I get why they didn't keep him as Ronin because he was basically an assassin and a murderer, so that wasn't good. But overall, his look was very good. Uh, I like the hood and the mask and the sword and all that stuff, so that was cool. And then his relationship with Natasha, man, that was just amazing. And I'll get into that more when I talk about Black Widow. But now let's talk about Nebula. So, like on my way to the theater, I was watching a YouTube video about um like final theories and predictions for Avengers Endgame, and one was that Nebula actually ended up being the villain in this movie, and I hadn't thought of that before, and I thought that would be really cool, and that there would actually be a chance of that, and it kind of did happen, but it was her 2014 version, but I still liked it. So that was nice to see her as a villain again. I kind of wish she stayed as a villain, although I like her as a hero too. Um, yeah. Okay. So yeah, now I'm going to talk about Black Widow. Her death scene was so emotional. I definitely cried during that, but not necessarily that I wasn't crying because she died. It was more because of Clint's reaction. Because like he wanted to be the one to sacrifice himself. He thought that he didn't deserve to let her do that. he thought he deserved to be the sacrifice. But well, when they were fighting to see who would jump off, when he jumped, I thought he was actually going to be the one to die. And the whole time I was hoping that it was Black Widow, because I don't really like Black Widow, but I definitely appreciate her character a lot more after this movie. Um, but then when she grabbed him and then she jumped off, and then that was just so emotional. And then that funeral, well, no, she didn't really get a funeral, but when the Avengers were out on the dock by the lake, so many emotions when it came to Black Widow. So her movie is definitely going to be a um, it's going to take place in the past. So that'll be good. I'm definitely looking forward to that more than I was before. Uh, yeah. Now moving on to the Hulk. The Hulk in this was okay. I don't really like what they did with him. I understand what they were trying to do, like the whole Professor Hulk thing. Um, I like that the Hulk's actually getting something to do, like he's getting a character arc. But I just didn't like this one because the thing I like about the Hulk is that he's like this uncontrollable, super strong, rage-filled monster that can destroy bad guys. Like he's so powerful. But then when he becomes Professor Hulk, he and then he starts wearing shirts and stuff, and he just looks stupid. Honestly, um, I did get used to it more towards the end. I liked him more when he was wearing his jumpsuit and stuff like that, because he looked weird wearing like glasses and a sweater and stuff. And then when he was talking to the kids, and he was just weird. He was like kind of like one of those guys that pretend or thinks he's cool, but he's really not. That was basically the Hulk in this movie. Uh, I think they're definitely going to continue with him as Professor Hulk. So I'm probably going to grow to like him as Professor Hulk. So, and now I'm going to move on to Thor. Thor, I didn't really like it all in this movie. Um, I do like that he was the one that killed Thanos, but him being fat, um, I didn't see it coming. That's one thing I can definitely say about it. Didn't see it coming. Definitely a surprise. Um, but I just didn't like. I don't like that he's fat now. I understand the whole point of it, that it's like even Thor can get fat and like you can come back from things like that, and stuff like that. But like they made Thor Ragnarok and Infinity War made Thor so awesome. Like nobody really cared about him before that, but with these movies they made him cool. And in this movie they didn't make him as bad as he was before, but still bad. Um, I didn't really care for his hair either. Um, it's not really too big of a deal. Um, although that one part at the end during the final battle, when he was holding both Stormbreaker and Mjolnir at the same time, that was awesome. Um, although one thing I don't understand about that is that so he got Mjolnir back when he went back to the events of Thor: The Dark World. So if he took Mjolnir from that time period and took it back to the future, um, and so like in this movie with the time travel, it's like if you change something in the past, it just creates a new timeline or a new reality. It doesn't change your future. So basically, in that reality or timeline, Thor doesn't have his hammer from all the way back in Thor: The Dark World. So must be some bad stuff happening in that world, because Thor doesn't have his hammer, and he doesn't know that it was just helping him use his powers. Uh, Now on to the final two, starting with Captain America, Steve Rogers. I like that he really loosened up in this movie. Uh, like back in Age of Ultron, when Tony said a swear word, um, Steve was like language, and then that was like an ongoing joke. But in this movie, he was saying some of that naughty language too, and then he even said, "Yeah, that is America's ass." So that was funny. He had some of the good funny parts. Um, he definitely took charge in the final battle. He led the whole team. He finally said, "Avengers assemble," and it was an epic battle, which I'll get into more after I talk about Iron Man. Um, I like the way they ended his storyline too, because he finally got that last dance with Peggy. He got to live out a happy life with her back in the 70s. And then we found out who the next Captain America is going to be. It's going to be Sam. That makes sense. Because like Bucky, he's been through more than Sam has, so it just makes sense for Sam to be new Captain America. I'm looking forward to seeing him as Captain America, but I don't know when that's going to happen. Oh, and I loved Steve's new outfit in this movie too, with the chainmail, that comic, like that classic comic outfit, just so good. Same with Iron Man and his Mark 85 armor, that was so similar to his original design, and that was because, well, this is his last movie, because he died, and I like the part when he went back to the 70s and he had that conversation with his father, even though his father didn't know that that was his son from the future. But he finally got that chance to tell his father that he loved him and that he had done a good job as his father. And obviously now, um, Tony is a father to Morgan, and that's what happened within the 5 years. He got married to Pepper. They had a child. He was working on that suit for Pepper, which was the rescue armor. So I like that. Um, there's just so much to talk about here. So I guess I'll just get into the end of Iron Man. So that they really came like right back to where it started. Like when Iron Man snapped his fingers and he got like when he got the stones and he snapped his fingers and he said, "I am Iron Man." It really came full circle, right? Like right back to Iron Man 1 at the end when he said, "I am Iron Man." Like that was just so awesome. And this movie was full of references to like all the other movies. This movie is just so good. And then his funeral was so sad. You even had Harley there, which is the kid from Iron Man 3, but obviously he's grown up now. Maybe he'll go on to be Iron Lad or something like that. So that'll be interesting to see if that happens. Um, Tony could always come back. I don't think he's going to be brought back to life, but maybe he like had an AI or like a hologram thing. Like at the end when he had that message for Morgan and Pepper, they might do something like that where it's kind of like Jarvis, but as a hologram, and he can like talk to them and stuff. So that would be interesting to see, but I don't want that to happen anytime soon. Because then that would just like ruin his death. Like at least wait a couple years. Um, yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about him or recap or anything like that, so it's time for the final battle. Final battle was so epic. It was the best part of the movie. So the heroes team was awesome enough because it had like the original 6 Avengers, everybody else that was in this movie, um, everybody that was dusted. Then it had like all the Wakandans, like Okoye or Okoye, however you want to say it. M'Baku had Shuri, all those people, and then they even brought in the Ravagers. Um, it would have been nice if Yondu was still alive for this, because he would have been cool to have there. But you might have missed this, but in that part where the Ravagers showed up, Howard the Duck was actually in that part. Um, so that was nice to see that Howard the Duck was there to battle. Um, maybe they'll give him his own movie sometime. That would be interesting to see. But then they had like the Asgardians. The I don't think there were anybody other like than that. Basically, just anybody they could find, they had there in that battle. And like I said, the hero team was awesome enough, but then the villain team was pretty epic too, because so there was Thanos from 2014, then there was Nebula from 2014, and then the Black Order was back. I didn't expect that to happen in this movie, so that was nice to see. Even though Ebony Maw was the only one that actually talked, it was nice to see all of them back again, back in action. And then their army, not only were there Chitauri, not only were there Outriders, but there was also the Sakaran army. And if you don't remember who the Sakarans are, they're basically the henchmen that Ronan had in Guardians of the Galaxy. So Thanos had 3 separate armies in that battle. All 5 of his children, I think 5 or 4, 4, well 5 if you include Nebula, and then there was Thanos, and that was just super epic. Like probably the best thing in cinematic history. Uh, I could go on and on about this movie. I'm probably going to make more videos about this movie, because this video has already been long enough. It's already almost 30 minutes. So I'm going to have to wrap it up now. If you have any questions that you want answered about the movie, let me know down in the comments below, because I'm thinking about doing a Q&A for this movie. Like I'll get some questions from you guys. I'll get some questions from my friends at school, and then I'll do a video where I just answer them. So that would be fun to do. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in my next video so I can bestow all my Marvel knowledge upon you.